Start the class.
Yesterday, in the previous class, we discussed about the theory of demand. So what is the demand here? The desire for a commodity and willingness to pay. And most probably here, the desire is backed up with the purchasing power of that commodity. So here, the negative demand curve, according to the law of demand curve here, when there is a rise in the price, the demand will decreases. So here the inverse relationship or the negative relationship can be shown. Means here the demand and the price, they are having the relationship the negatively. Whenever the price changes here, changes means either increases or decreases. Here the demand also increases or decreases. But here for the fall in the price, demand increases. For the raise in the price, demand will decreases. So that's why here the negative slope was shown. So here, according to the law of demand, the demand curve slope is from left to right. Why? The reasons here. The first one is the law of diminishing marginal utility. According to diminishing marginal utility, consumer is always a rational person. He wants to maximize his satisfaction at the least price. Means here, whenever there is a fall in the price here, the compulsorily the demand will increases. Means the quantity demanded increases. The additional unit may increase and utility also increases. But here, if we are going on adding the goods, when price falls here, the utility diminishes as per the theory of law of diminishing marginal theory, utility theory. So here, according to this theory here, what happens if the consumer prefer more at the lowest price here, the goods, the additional utility of that goods or the units may diminish. So that's why here, that's the reason why the demand curve is sloped from left to right. And the next one is the income effect. Income effect means here, the consumer, when the consumer always consumes with his money income. What is the real income? Real income means it depends on the price, changes of the price. When the price of the commodity falls, what happens here? The income, the real income of the consumer increases. How means? When, if you, for example, if you take, if the consumer's income is 20 rupees and price for a commodity is 5 rupees. How many he can get? He can get 4 goods, 4 commodities here with 20 rupees. If price raises to the 10 rupees, what happens? He can purchase only 2 commodities with his income. Means here his real income is decreasing. When price falls here to the 5 rupees means he can get 4 goods. If he need only 2 means with the 10 rupees, he will buy 2 commodities and the remaining is the other 10 rupees. Means here what happening? The money income is constant here without change. But because of the change in the price here, real income is changing. That's why here, whenever there is a rise or due to the fall in the price here of a commodity, other things remaining constant. Other things means the income, relative prices, goods prices, and the taste and preferences remaining constant here. Whenever the price falls or the fall in the price of a commodity here, the consumer may spend more income. But means here, he can buy, real income will increases when price falls here. So here he may consume the go for the superior quality of the good. That's why here the demand curve increases as the price decreases. That's why the slope of demand curve is from left to right downward slope. And the next reason for this is a substitution effect. Substitution means what? The substitution good means the good which satisfy the same want here. Means the similar goods will be there. There's with the similar qualities here. There's a similar taste here and brand or same thing will be there. But the same utility can be derived from the same goods. So here the substitution good effect on the is the reason for the negative slope of the demand curve here. For instance, if you take the prices of the Colgate and the close-up as an example, if the price of Colgate paste rises means relatively what happens to the close-up here, the consumer may substitute the close-up in place of Colgate. Means the substitution effect. When the price of one good Colgate increases means he demands more, he demands the close-up more. So the demand curve here shows a negative slope, that is a left to right slope. Next here is the next reason is multiple uses of commodity. Multiple uses of commodity means a commodity may have the multiple uses, such as if you take, for example, coal, electricity, or the milk. For so many purposes we'll use these things. Electricity, it will be used for the agriculture, for the domestic purpose in our houses, and for the industries, for the tertiary sector, for the each and everything here, for communications, everything we need the electricity. Means here, if the prices of these commodity falls, what happens? There will be a greater demand for these goods rather than those which are restricted, means which are restricted for a particular use. If you take the milk, if the milk price increased means here we'll stop using that milk for the other purposes, for a particular use. From the milk we can drink tea or coffee, or we may make these curd or the butter, or every milk product is made from this milk only. So if the price increases, what happens? We may only will use a small quantity of milk only, will not use for the other purposes to make the sweets or any other things, isn't it? That's why here the multiple uses of commodity is also one of the reason for the negative slope of demand curve. That's why the curve slopes from left to right downwards. Next one is the old and the new bias is the another one. Old and new bias means what happens? The old bias here, if you take, when the price of the good falls, the income of the old buyers will increases, means the real income will increases. As I told you, the income effect like that. So same as for the old buyers also, when price falls, real income increases, so they will increase their demand for that particular good. And the new buyers also, they may be, because of the substitution effect here, if this the price of this good is lower than the other good, then they will purchase. The new buyers may be attracted for this commodity because of the fall in the price. So that's why here the new buyers and the old buyers, because of the demand of these old buyers and new buyers, old buyers continue to buy the goods here when the price falls, and the new buyers will also attracted for the new price, where they comparatively always they want the maximum utility from the good with a least unit price here. That's why here the new buyers may attract. That's why the negative slope of demand curve, it is from the left to right here. That's why this is these all are the reasons for the negative slope of demand curve. And the next concept here we are having is the income demand. Before going to the income demand, just we discuss about the changes in demand, extension and contraction of demand, and increase and decrease in demand. So the extension and contraction of demand takes place when the other things remaining constant. When price changes, the extension of the demand takes place. Means when price falls, the demand will extend. On the same curve, that same curve here, extension and contraction will take place. If the demand, when it falls here, demand increases. Means here, the point will move towards the downwards. And if there are then a high price is there, then the quantity demand will be less. Then we can see the shift of the demand curve from to the upward. So that's why here the contraction the expansion of the demand curve can be seen. The next here, the increase and decrease in the demand, keeping the price constant. And when other things changes, there will be the changes in the demand. Demand may increase or decrease due to the changes in taste and preferences, or change in the income and other factors other than the price. Here, for the change in the increase and decrease in demand takes place when other things works and price remains constant. That is the changes in the demand. So the next concept is the income demand here. Income demand, it explains the relationship between the consumer's income. Means the consumer's income at various levels above, at where he consumes the goods and services, at various quantities of goods and services he demands. So the mostly we can say that as in the assumption here for the income demand is other things remaining constant. Other things means here what? Price of the commodity, prices of relative goods, means the substitution goods and the complementary goods, and the taste and preferences remains constant, but income changes here. For the change in the income, how the demand changes, that is explained here. So that's why the functional relationship between income and the demand is shown in this income demand. So the income, how the functional relationship shows when the quantity demanded here, when the income is increases, what a quantity will demand and what type of goods will demand. Means we are, if income increases, if we are going for the inferior goods or superior goods. Here we are having the two types of goods here, inferior goods and superior goods. Superior goods means the high quality goods or the high priced goods, and inferior goods means the low priced goods here. Means where the common people, the middle class or the low income group people will consume mostly these goods only, inferior goods. And superior goods here, mostly they were the people, whenever the price increases also never change, or the demand never changes in the case of the superior goods. So here the functional relationship between income and quantity demanded may be inverse or direct here, depending on the nature of the commodity. Depending on the nature of the commodity means the direct relationship can be seen in the case of superior goods. So in the case of the inverse relationship can be seen in the case of inferior goods. So that's why here the functional relationship can be written in a mathematical expression, that is dx is the function of y, where dx is the demand for the x commodity, f is the function relationship, and y is the indicates income. So let us go for the income demand schedule here. In this table, we have shown the superior goods and inferior goods here in kgs, superior goods in kgs and inferior goods also in kgs. The income, when there is a change in the income, what happens? Either we go for the superior goods or inferior goods. When price decreases, what will we do? So here, when the price is, when the income is increasing, here we have one thing, remember this students here, the other things remaining constant, only the income changes. When income changes, other things like price of the commodity, prices of relative goods means substitution and complementary goods, and the taste and preferences, they remain constant, only income changes. Income changes means here in the, as I shown in this table here, when the income is 2000, here the consumer's income is 2000 here, then the superior goods, demand for the superior goods in kgs is 4 and inferior goods is 12. Why? Because here his income is only 2000 rupees. When his income increases to 4000, the superior goods demand will increases to 6, from 4 to 6. Why? Here the income increased. That's why superior goods demand also increases. And for the inferior goods here, because of the rise in the income from 2000 to 4000, the demand for inferior goods has been decreased. Superior goods here it increased, for the demand for inferior goods decreased to 12 to 10. And when the income increases to 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 and further here, the demand for superior goods is going on increasing to 8, 10 and 12. But demand for inferior goods, here it is decreasing. So what we can see here, when the income increases, the demand for superior goods increases. Means here it shows the direct relationship, where the demand for the inferior goods is decreasing when income is increasing. Okay, and this, in the graph we can show the demand curves, income demand curves here, superior goods and inferior goods. On OX axis we will take quantity demanded, and OY axis will take income, which is indicated by Y. And the YD is the income demand here, which is sloped. Further, in the case of the superior goods, it is sloped from left to right upward. It is a direct relationship. Here, direct relationship why here for the superior goods means when income increases, quantity demanded also increases. Means for in the case of superior goods only. In the case of superior goods here, direct relationship can be seen here. Why? Because when the income increase in the income leads to the increase in the quantity demanded for superior goods only, not for inferior goods. In the case of inferior goods, what happens here? The demand curve is shown as a left to right downward slope. Left to right downward slope here means, what indicates here? The negative relationship or the inverse relationship. When income increases, the people, the consumers goes for the high quality goods or high priced goods here. They won't go for the cheaper commodities. Mostly the cheaper commodities means nothing but the cereals, ragi, jawar, bajra, like this, or the broken rice, like this. Means here the people here, the always when their income increases, they will always they prefer the superior goods only. That's why the inferior goods price demand is less when income increases. So here the negative relationship. Income increases means the demand for the inferior goods. When the income increases, demand for these goods, inferior goods will decreases. Okay. So, and the next here, we can say, go for the next concept, cross demand. Cross demand here, it refers the relationship between the two goods which are complementary or which are substitute here. The substitution goods here means, substitution goods means here, what are the substitution goods which are having the same want, which can satisfy the same want here. So in the case of the supplementary goods and the here we can show the relationship between the price of Y and the price quantity demand of X as a dx is a function of py. Dx is a function of py, where X is the demand for the X commodity and Y is the demand for the P commodity. Price of the Y means here the income of here P price of Y means Y price of Y here, the Y when the change in the X demand changes due to the change in the price of Y here. In this cross demand, remember here remaining things, other things remaining constant means price of the good, income here, and the tastes and preferences will remains constant, where commodity related goods prices will changes here. Related good prices means substitution good prices and complementary good prices changes, but the other things, income, price of the commodity, and the taste and preferences will remain constant. That's why here the function relationship between the two goods which are complementary to each other or substitute here, they changes. When there is a rise in the price of Y means they will prefer more of X, means demand for X commodity will increases. So this can be understood by the given graph here. The substitute goods and the first we will go for the substitution goods here. You will take the coffee and tea. When the price of the coffee in rupees, here when decreases from 10 rupees to 9 rupees, demand for coffee cups also increases here from 500 to 600. Whereas here when where the tea for price is 10 only, it remains same. But there is a change in the price of the demand for the tea. Why? Because the price of the coffee is decreased. But that's why here the demand for the tea will decreases to 500 to 400. So that's why here what happening here, because of the fall in the coffee price here, the demand for tea is decreasing. So that can be shown here. The demand for the substitution goods here, price of the price on OX axis will take the quantity demand here, Q and Q1. So here the price for these goods from the left to right, upward slope here, direct relationship. When the price increases for the decreases from P1 to P here, the quantity demanded will increases to the other one. That's why the price of the tea and quantity demanded of the coffee, if you see here. So if the price is 10 rupees P1 and the P when decreases to 9 rupees at the P here, the quantity for the tea, what happens? It decreases from Q1 to Q. That's why here the relationship is an inverse relationship. In case of the substitution goods, the relationship is a positive relation. And in case of the complementary goods here, what the complementary goods means, if you take for the particular use here, we need to use the another good here. If you are going to use the car or the automobiles here, we need to use the fuel also. So if according to this here, if the price of the car in lakhs is shown in the table, and the demand for the car and price of the fuel in rupees and the demand for the fuel. Here, when the price of the car is 5 lakhs and the demand for car is 1000. And but the fuel's price is changing here. The fuel price here is 75 rupees, where the demand for fuel is 500. Okay. And when the price of the car remains the same as it is as in 5 lakhs, but because of the change in the fuel's price here, it decreased from 75 rupees to 50 rupees. The demand for the car increases here to the 2000, and the fuel also increases to the 1000 rupees. So the demand curve for the complementary goods is a negative slope. When the price increases here for the fuel here, the quantity demanded for that particular car or any automobile will decreases. So that's why the demand curve is from left to right. Means if price there is a change in the price, the price decreases from P to P1 here. What happening to the Q and Q1 here? The demand for the Q quantity here, it is increasing. When the price falls, the quantity demand is increasing here. When the price increases, quantity demanded will decreases. Means the here it's shown as a complementary. In the case of complementary goods, the relationship is inverse. Okay, so here we all gone for these studied about these concepts, the total theory of demand. Here the concepts of the demand, meaning of the demand, law of demand, demand function, and the mostly the demand, individual demand schedule, market demand schedule, and then the exceptions of the law of demand, given paradox or Veblen goods, here civic speculation, illusion, and negative slope reasons here due to the diminishing marginal utility and due to the income effect, substitution effect, and the old bias and new bias are the reason for the slope of the demand curve from the left to right. Okay, and the next other types of demand are the income demand and cross demand. So we have seen here the relationship between the income demand and the cross demand. And the next concept, the next one is the elasticity of demand. It is the part B. As I told you in previous class, in the theory of demand analysis, we have two parts, part A and part B. Just now we completed part A about the theory of demand, total theory of demand, we totally discussed. Next here, we are going for the elasticity of demand. In the part B, here elasticity of demand, meaning of the elasticity of demand. Here in the third unit 3, this is an part B, elasticity of demand. Okay, elasticity of demand means until now we discussed that the demand, the change in the demand will be there because of the change in the prices, because of the determinants. What are the determinants? Prices, income, taste and preferences, substitution, and the complementary good prices, isn't it? So what change? At what is the percentage change here? At what percent the price changes, and which is influenced, the demand is influenced by the change in the price. Means here the responsiveness of the demand with the change in the price can be studied in the elasticity of demand. So elasticity of demand means the percentage change in the quantity demanded in response to the percentage change in the variables on which demand depends. On which the demand depends means on the determinant factors like the prices, relative prices, income, taste, and preferences. Okay. So here the first, the elasticity of demand for some goods. Here it may vary from place to place, or it may time to time, and one commodity to the another. Why? Because here the elasticity of demand will be different for the different goods. If you take for example rice, salt, vegetables, etc. here, they do not show any changes in the quantity demanded. Why? Because they are the basic goods, the compulsory goods here which we use. And if you take these the other goods like the comfort goods or the luxury goods like the refrigerators or ACs, air coolers here, when the price changes, there will be a greater change in the demand here. Means here the small price may bring a lot of change in the demand. So that responsiveness here we'll study in elasticity of demand. So the concept of this elasticity of demand was first introduced by Cornett and Mill. The concept of this demand is introduced by these two economists here. Later it has been developed by in a scientific manner by Alfred Marshall. As you know, the Alfred Marshall, he is a economist who given us the diminishing marginal utility, equimarginal utility, depending on the cardinal analysis. So then later, after the introduction of this Cornett and Mill, here this concept of demand, elasticity of demand was developed by in a scientific manner by Alfred Marshall. Okay, and if you go for the according to this Marshall here, he defined the elasticity as the elasticity or responsiveness of demand in a market is greater or small according to the amount demanded, increase for much or little for a given fall in price, and diminishes at the much or little for a given rise in the price. Means what happening here in the market at a given price here. Given price means for a little or much fall in the price, how the demand will changes here. How the demand responses, it rises or decreases, much or little increase or decrease, at what level the demand will decreases or diminishes. It can be shown in this elasticity of demand. Means the responsiveness of the demand, quantity demanded in a market, at a greater or the smaller, according to, it depends on the little or more change in the fall in the price. So here, according to this here, we can understand that it means elasticity of demand means the degree of sensitiveness or the responsiveness of demand to the change in its price. We, in the total theory of demand, we discussed there will be a change in the price, because if there is a fall in the price, demand increases. Means the fall in the price means at what percentage? What is the responsiveness of the demand in the percentages? Means here we will measure the elasticity of demand here. So the degree, it is, we can say the elasticity as a tool to which we measure the degree of responsiveness of a dependent variable to a change in an independent variable. Okay, dependent variable and independent variables means what here? Dependent variable, here for example, if you take the commodities, the price of the commodity or the income of the consumer, prices of the substitution goods or the taste and preferences, or these all are the independent variables which determine the dependent variable, that is the demand. Okay, here the independent variables are prices, income, taste and preferences, and prices of related goods. Okay, and the dependent variable is a demand, quantity demanded here. Okay, so let us go for the elasticity here. The elasticity of demand, just now I told you, it is then sensitiveness or the responsiveness of the for the change in the price, the change in the demand for the change in the price here. Means here at the if the price increases, how the demand responds, how the percentage of the demand response here at the percentages here. So we can say the proportionate change in the quantity demanded by the proportionate change in the price as an elasticity of demand. So we can classify, there are three types of elasticity of demand there. Here we can classify into three. They are price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand. Same as we studied in the theory of demand, three types are there: demand, price demand, income demand, and cross demand. Here we are studying the elasticities of these three: elasticity of the price, elasticity of income, and elasticity of the cross demand here. So here, going for the first one, the price elasticity of demand. We'll discuss about the price elasticity of demand here. So in the price elasticity, in the same title itself, you can see it is a elasticity for the price. Means other things remaining constant. Other things means here the demand, the cross related goods prices, income, taste, and preferences remaining the same when price changes. So here other things remaining constant. Price elasticity measures the changes in the quantity demanded of a good in response to the change in its price. Means here the proportionate change in the quantity demanded by the proportionate change in the price, called as a price elasticity of demand, which we can show here as in a formula here. The ED is the elasticity of the demand here, price elasticity of demand. Here the percentage change in the quantity demanded by percentage change in the price. Means the proportionate change in the price by quantity demanded by proportionate change in the price. So it can be also written as in here, the change in the quantity demanded by the original price, original quantity demanded divided by change in the price by the original price. What is the original price? When there is without change in the price or without change in the demand. The first initial one, initial demand and initial price are the original demand and the original price. And the change in the price means after that change. After the change, when the quantity price increases, quantity demanded also changes here. So that change here is taken here. So that's why change in the quantity demanded by the original quantity demanded divided by change in the price by the original price into 100. So this can be written as the delta Q by Q. Delta Q means what? The change in the quantity. Q here indicates the quantity demanded here. Q is the quantity P is the price. So the change in the quantity demanded divided by Q into P by delta P. Delta P means the change in the price. Original price, the change in the delta Q means change in the quantity by the initial quantity or the original quantity, and the P is the initial price, and the delta P is the change in the price after when the price changes here. This is equals to delta Q by delta P into P by Q, where the change in the, it can be written as the change in the price, quantity demanded by the change in the price into price into quantity demanded. Okay. What P into Q means the original price and the original quantity. Delta per Q means the change in the price and change in the quantity. Okay. So that's why here this is the formula for the to measure the elasticity of demand here. Okay. So if we take this demand, the types of the price elasticity of demand, we are having the 5 types here. According to this here, first we have to know about the elastic demand and inelastic demand. Elastic demand means a smaller change. A smaller, if the price of the commodity increases here, the quantity demanded will fall. You know, all of you know. But here, always here the rate of the change in the demand is not always proportionate to the rate of change in the price. So means here for some commodities here, what happens is a smaller change in price leads to the greater change in the quantity demanded. A little change in the price may bring a lot of large change in the quantity demanded. That is called as an elastic demand. Elastic demand means a smaller change in price leads to the greater change in quantity demanded. And the next is inelastic demand here. Greater change when there is a price is high, but there will be a change, the little more change we can see. Just now I told you about the salt or the basic needs of the food grains here. When there is a greater change in price also, there doesn't make any change in the quantity demanded. That means here it is those goods will have inelastic demand. If the price increases also, we'll buy salt. Without the salt, we cannot eat, isn't it? That's why here for these goods here, the elasticity will inelastic. The demand will be inelastic demand. There a little change will be there in the quantity demanded, or without change may be also there. That's why according to this, we can classify these price elasticity of demand into 5 types. 5 types here. First one is the perfectly elastic demand, where it is equals to infinite. Perfectly elastic here. If a smaller change in the price here, without change in the price also, a larger change can be seen in the quantity demanded, an infinite change. That's why ED is equals to infinite. Perfectly inelastic demand. Perfectly inelastic demand, ED is equals to 0 here. When the ED is equals to the means here a small change or more change will never brings any change in the elasticity of demand. That's why it is ED is 0. When the price increases or decreases also, there will be no change in the demand here. That's why it is here, it is an inelastic demand, that is ED is equals to 0. And next is a unitary elastic demand here. Unitary elastic means the percentage change in the demand and the percentage change in the price will be equal. It will be same. That's why the price elastic demand is equals to 1. And the relatively elastic demand means here the ED is more than 1. Means elasticity of demand is more than 1. A smaller change in the demand price may bring a large or the greater change in quantity demanded. That's why it is an elastic, relatively elastic demand. And ED is less than 1 means inelastic, relatively inelastic demand. Means the price elasticity of demand will be the little change. A little means here inelastic means what? The change, the greater change in the price may lead to a smaller change in the quantity demanded. That's the inelastic. That's why ED will be less than 1. So these 5 are the inelastic and inelastic. Basing on these things, the 5 types here. Let us go for the perfectly elastic demand. Perfectly elastic demand is the first type in the price elasticity of demand here. According to this here, a small change in price causes an infinite change in the price. I will explain with the example here. If the price of commodity is 10 rupees and the quantity demanded may be 100 units here. At the same price here, quantity demanded here without change in the price. Without change in the price, it remains 10 only, but quantity demanded increases to 120. Means the infinite change can be seen without change in the price. That's why ED is equals to infinite, which can be, we can written in the formula here, delta Q by Q into P by delta P. Here, the delta Q means the change in the demand. Change in the demand is what? Initially demand is 100 and the change is the 120, increase to 120. Means 120 minus 100, it is 20. Divided by the first initial demand, original demand, that is 100 into the P, the original price is 10. There is no change. That's why 0. 10 by, without change here, that's why the 10 by 0, this is equals to 200 by 0, which is shows that infinite. Means that infinite demand can be represented on this graph here, perfectly elastic demand graph. On OX axis, we'll take the price, and the OX as usual will take the quantity demanded. Here you can see the demand curve is parallel to OX axis. Why? The perfectly elastic demand curve will be parallel. Why? Because there is, without change in the price, a greater change in the demand can be noticed here. In some cases here, in some cases without change also, the quantity demanded will increases when the population increases, or other factors influence here. When the price, without change the price also, the quantity will increases for the particular, for the basic goods here. Without change also the quantity may increases. That's why here the PD is an demand curve which is parallel to the OX axis, which shows the infinite. Without changing the price here, the elastic quantity demanded will be more. That's why the infinite is shown. And the next one here, the second one here is the perfectly inelastic demand. Perfectly inelastic demand here, the change in the price does not have any influence on the quantity demanded. Means if the price increases or decreases, it falls or rises here, there will be no change in the quantity demanded, where the demand is equals to 0. Quantity demand is equals to 0. Here, for this one here, the demand is non-responsive to change in the price here. So that's why we can say that ED is equals to 0 if the price of the commodity, for example, is 10 rupees and the quantity demanded is 100. When price increases to 12 rupees also here, the quantity demanded will remain the same. That's why here there is no change in the quantity demanded. That's why it represents the 0 here. It can be represented by the delta Q by Q into P by delta P. I told you that delta Q means the change in the demand, by the Q means original demand, the initial demand, the first demand here. The quantity demanded is 100. There is no change. That's why here the 0 change in the quantity demand is 0, by the initial demand is 100. And the next here, the price here, given price is, first price is 10 and the original price, the delta P is 2. Means here after when price increases to 12 rupees, the first price is rupees 10 increased to 12. 12 minus 10, 2. So here 10 by 2, which is shows that 0 by 200, it is an 0. Means ED is equals to 0. With the change in the price also, when the price increases or decreases, changes here, the responsiveness in quantity demanded is 0. That's why here the ED is equals to 0, which can be represented in this curve here, the perfectly inelastic curve. Here, in perfectly inelastic curve, the demand curve will be parallel to OY axis. Inelastic demand. In elastic demand, what happened? It is parallel to OX axis. But in this perfectly inelastic demand curve, quantity demanded curve will be parallel to the OY axis. Why? Because quantity, there is no change in quantity demanded. It is OQ only. When price changes from OP to OP1 here, there is no change in the quantity demanded. When the price decreases to OP2 here, OP2 here, there is no change in quantity demanded. That's why it is elasticity of demand for here is for change in the price is 0. That's why it is given as a parallel to the OY axis. Okay, understood. So in the case of the perfectly elastic demand, it is the curve is parallel to OX axis. In the case of the inelastic demand curve, it is parallel to the OY axis because there is no change in quantity demanded due to the change in the price. The next one here is the unitary elastic demand. Okay, in the unitary elastic demand, for the given percentage change in the price, which is accompanied by an equal percentage change in the quantity demanded, means the change in the price and the change in the quantity demanded will be same. There will be no change. That's why means here they will be equal. When the 1% change in the price means it leads to the 1% change in the quantity demanded. So the same changes will be seen. That's why ED is equals to 1. Which can be shown as for the example, price of a commodity is rupees 10, quantity demanded is 100 units. When price falls to 8 rupees, then quantity demanded increases to 120 rupees. So here the first initial price is 10, initial demand is 100. Means the original price is 10 and original quantity demand is 100. And the price, change in the price is 8 and change in the quantity demanded is 20. So according to the formula here, delta Q by Q into P by delta P here, the change in the quantity is 20. 20 means 120 minus 100 units will get 20. And the original demand here is the first demand is 100. When price changed decreased to 10 rupees to 8 rupees, here it is 2. 10 minus 8, 2. The change in the price is 2 and the original price is 10. So we'll get 200 by 200, which is equals to 1. Means what here we can understand that the change in the percentage change in the price is equals to the percentage change in the demand. That's why ED is equals to 1. And we can represent on this curve here, demand curve. It is an hyperbola, rectangular hyperbola. We can see means which shows the equal changes in price and the quantity demanded. Here on the OX axis, the quantity demanded here, and OP is on OY is it is a price. When there is a decrease in the price from P to P1 here, the quantity demanded at the same level here, that is from Q to Q1. Means the responsiveness of the quantity demanded for the change in the price is equal to 1. That's why here ED is equals to 1. Okay, and that's why here it is the rectangular hyperbola shape. The demand curve will be the rectangular hyperbola, which indicates the same change, the equal change in the both dependent and independent variables. Okay, and the next one here, the fourth type of price elastic demand is relatively elastic demand. Relatively elastic demand here means a small change in the price of commodity may give the greater percentage change in the quantity demanded. Means if the small change in the price means when the price changes little more or much more here, there will be a greater change in the quantity demanded. Here for example, if the price of the good is 10 rupees and the quantity demanded is as usual 100. When price falls to 8 rupees, quantity demanded will increases to 150. For a small change, the 2 rupees change of the fall of price for the commodity gives a larger change. Means the 150 units means 150 minus 100 means the 50 units change is there. A greater change can be noticed here. With the formula given, ED is equals to delta Q by Q and P by delta P here. The change in the price is 50. 150 minus 100 is 50. And the original demand is 100. And the price here is that the original price is 10. And the change in the price is 10 minus 8, 2 rupees. So here 10 by 2, which gives 500 by 200 means what? 2.5. Means a little change where we can see a small change in the price led to a greater change in the demand. That's why we can say the ED is more than 1. Elasticity of demand is more than 1, which indicates the greater change in the quantity demanded for a small change in the price. It can be shown on this curve here, price elastic demand curve here, and the quantity changed here, price from P to P1, a little change is there, but a lot of change can be observed in the graph here from Q to Q1, where it is a flatter. Demand curve is flatter to OX axis here. It is flatter in shape, where the flatter shape indicates that the independent variable, change in the independent variable, that is in price here, gives a greater change in the quantity demanded here. So the two variables here, between the change is a greater change. A little change in price brings a lot change, a greater change in quantity demanded. That's why the elasticity of demand here is more than 1 in this case. And the next one is the relatively inelastic demand. Here also inelastic means a percentage change in price of commodity gives with a smaller percentage change in quantity demanded. ED is less than 1. Here also example here, the 10 rupees the price and 100 rupees demanded here. And the price falls from to the 8 rupees, quantity demanded goes to 110. Same as here, it is shown the ED is equals to delta Q by Q and P by delta P, where the price, the change in the quantity demanded is 110 minus 100, that is 10. And the initial demand is 100. And the change, the first price without change, original price is 10. Change in the price is 2. So 1 by 2 is equals to 0.5. That's here what we will see here, a percentage change in the price brings a small change in the quantity demanded, which can be shown in this curve here like this, where the more change in the demand, the price here, the P to P here, change is there, the 10 to 8 rupees it decreases, but the quantity changed here from Q to Q1 is a less change. A smaller change can be seen in the quantity demanded. Okay, so the demand shape here, or the shape of demand curve will be this steeper to the O axis here, here it is a steeper one, which represents the independent variable, change in independent variable will be more and dependent variable will be less. Dependent variable means what here? Quantity demanded. Okay. So here the relationship between these two, that shows a smaller change in the quantity demanded. That's why ED is less than 1. Okay, students, today these all are the 5 types of price elasticity of demand here. The 5 types means here, the perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, unitary elastic demand, relatively elastic demand, and relatively inelastic demand. These all is very, very important topic here, price elasticity of demand here. And the topic is very important to know about the responsiveness of the change quantity demanded for the change in the price. Okay, and in next class we'll continue with the importance and the limitations of the demand curve, elasticity of demand curve. Okay.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Okay.